What is up, guys? Coach Will here from Iron Will Tennis. As always, I hope everybody's working hard and doing well. Today we're going to be tackling what it takes to be a big server. Now, from the time that tennis started, there's always been somebody trying to do it the fastest way possible, whether it's a forehand, backhand, overhead serve, or any other shot we have. So the thing that comes down to is simple mechanics. Some people have the potential to be big servers, but they're missing things that make those things easily accessible. Serving isn't just about having a strong arm. There are ladies who serve tons harder than a lot of guys. And that usually comes down to good use of the body, good fundamentals, and a couple of things that fly under the radar that people lose track of. So in this video, what we're going to be doing is tackling those things that would easily add 10, 15, 20 miles to your serve if you can get those things all sorted out. So the first thing we're going to talk about is leg drive. When we say leg drive, not just the loading of the knees to push up, but also the loading of the knees and the legs to drive forward. One thing that people tend to lose track of when they really get into bending their knees is a lot of people pop up too much. You want to make sure that you have a good amount of momentum shifting towards the target. So if I'm serving down the tee, I want to make sure that my legs, if I'm a platform server, are pushing me in the direction of the tee. If I'm going to serve out wide, I want to make sure that I don't adjust my foot position too much, but I just have the idea that my momentum should be carrying in that direction. One thing that people lose track of when they go into their knee bends is their forward-facing hip. When you go to toss the ball, if you look at me right now, there's pretty much a straight line from my hand all the way to my feet. And some people, when they go into this position and bend their knees, they bend their knees straight. I actually almost fell over trying to do that. What you should do is try to push your forward-facing hip in front of where your hand and your foot are. That loads your legs so that as you start to drive, you almost have no choice but to drive into the court. So if you add that little thing and just be aware of making sure your hip leads your motion, you're going to add a few miles to your serve without really doing anything extra. Even if you have simple mechanics, just adding your hip shifting forward is going to get your momentum going more towards the direction that you want your serve to go. Thus, that's going to get your momentum adding power into your contact. The second thing that we have to make sure we are aware of, and this is where a lot of people can lose a good amount of pace on their serve, is your shoulder line. When you toss your ball up, there are some people who, when they toss, they'll get their arm very high, but if you look, my shoulders are still fairly level. And the problem here is when I go to swing, my shoulders are like a seesaw. The higher one shoulder is, the higher the other shoulder would have to go to move it. So if I'm trying to get more speed from my racket, the further I can create a distance from where I am to where I need to go, one shoulder up and then the other, the more room my racket has to generate speed. So if I put my arm up here and then this racket's here, this is actually about as low as I'm comfortable going. But if you notice, when I lift my arm up higher, my racket drops lower. That puts me further away from where I'm going to inevitably be striking the ball. And then with that, I'm adding more room to gain more speed. This simple mechanic has taken my serve, when I first learned it, took my serve about 10 to 15 miles faster just by making sure my shoulders rotated at the right time. Now here's where a lot of people get in trouble. They will actually get this part right, but then they'll let this arm come down too soon as well. So as you see, it gets me here, but then I still end up level as I start to swing. So you want to make sure this arm stays up until the time that we end up going after the ball. That's going to initially be a little tricky, and what you might notice when you make that change is you might start dumping a few serves in the net. You just want to make sure that we combine that with step one, which is getting everything to drive up and forward so that you don't end up having to compensate for dropping your arm. And if you can get those things coordinated together, you'll definitely add a few more miles per hour, kilometers per hour per serve if you're not in America. Tip number 3 that's going to help you add more pace to your serve is going to be adjusting your timing. This can be done a couple of different ways, but essentially whichever way we go with, your goal is to shorten the amount of time that you have between starting to move your racket and getting to where you would contact the ball. I'm going to use this as an example. I'm just going to grab the basket real quick. If I wanted to serve or hit any shot really, really slow, I have two options. I can be right where the contact's going to be and barely move, or I can be far away from the contact, but I have to move early so that I'm never late to actually strike the shot. We take that concept and we apply it to the serve. you may be serving slow because your racket's always moving. And because your racket always moves, you are kind of limited in how fast you're allowed to go. The trick here is you have to find a way to shorten the amount of time that we have between starting your motion and contacting the ball. So you want to wait as long as possible, and then you'll end up serving faster. And the longer you wait, the faster you'll inevitably have to go to get to that shot. Now, you need to make sure it's a time that you still feel as though you're comfortable compensating for. You don't want to wait until the very last second and then end up changing your motion. But you do need to shorten the amount of time that you have in order to make it necessary to swing faster. So I'm not guaranteeing that I'm going to make this serve, but I do guarantee that I'll hit the ball pretty fast just by holding my position. So all you want to do is wait, and then you serve faster. So if I wait longer, then I have no choice but to serve faster. I made the second one, by the way. Adjusting your timing is as simple as being more patient with the ball in the air and making yourself have no choice but to go faster to get to that spot. The biggest danger here is people will make the mistake of shortening their motion. You want to make sure that you're still putting all of your full range into the serve and you're just forcing yourself to go through the motion faster. The best location to pause is here because that allows gravity to take the racket down, and then from there we serve up. Now, when I was competing professionally and in college, my fastest serve was 147. I'm not going to attempt to hit anywhere near that anymore, but I can still get above 100, 110 on a good day when I'm just a little bit more loose. But all those things really helped me get to that point. Just, getting my momentum going in the right direction, making sure that my hips were ahead so that everything kind of followed, rotating my shoulders at the right time, and also shortening the distance or shortening the time between when I start my motion and when the ball is going to be there. Those three tips by themselves can make a huge difference in terms of just being able to get free access to power. Because the other thing that's most important is you never want to feel like when you serve, you're forcing yourself to serve hard. Because if you're forcing yourself to serve hard, it's something that's not repeatable, it's something that's not comfortable. Nobody wants to feel like they have to do something, and serving is the only shot in tennis that we have full control over. Every shot that we hit after we serve is in reaction to what somebody else makes us do. It doesn't matter how much I want to hit a forehand. If the ball's way over on the other side of the court, it's a backhand. It doesn't matter how much I want to go to the net. If the ball is keeping me back here, I'm back here. Doesn't matter how much I want to stay back. If the ball's short, I have to go in. Serving is the only shot we have 100% control over. And you have to make sure that when you're serving, you take inventory of all the little pieces that could help you be better at it. Leg drive is important. Body rotation is important. Using the proper grip, all those things are important. But with serving, it's a very personal stroke. It's something that you have to make your own. I've had students that I coached, and they all look different on the serve. I've had professional coaches that have students that have gone on to different schools, and none of them look the same. But it's because tennis is such a personal sport. In serving, as well as other strokes, there's a bunch of shoulds and there are a bunch of musts. Must meaning you have to do these things. You have to turn your shoulders to hit a solid forehand. But you see older recreational players that do this. In order to get past a certain tier of stroke, certain things become necessary, but it's not a must in order to be able to go play tennis. So when we talk about being efficient and effective with any shot, you want to take a lot of these concepts and make them into necessities, because those things that have to happen are the things that make your serve much better. And I'm going to be taking this and moving it into a whole masterclass of different strokes that we tear apart. And we're going to be making a list of the things that you should be doing and the things that you have to do. Continental grip, not a must, but definitely a should to create enough variety, enough controllability, and enough repeatability in your serve. But there are people who serve closer to an Eastern forehand. You just lose the ability to get certain types of rotation on the ball, but it makes access to a flat serve very easy. So again, it's not a must, it's just a should for most players to be able to achieve certain outcomes. But with that being said, guys, this is the first in a series of masterclass stuff for tearing down the serve as well as other shots. As always, please like, share, and subscribe so we can continue to grow. As always, I'm Coach Will from Iron Will Tennis, and we'll see you guys in the next one.